Om Shanti. Increase the practice of the bodiless stage, Ashariri or Videhi. Let there not be any attachment to anything. In order to experience your bodiless stage, let there not be any attachment to anything, even to your thoughts, in a subtle way. There should be no attachment to any relatives or connections, or to anyone's specialities. If there is any attachment to your own speciality, that attachment will create bondages and will not allow you to become bodiless. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Welcome to Vikti Parivar. Today's day 19. Increase the practice of the bodiless stage, Ashariri or Videhi. Today's topic: let there not be any attachment to anything. Now we will listen to Mohini Didi.
Om Shanti. Everyone well, keeping body well, no attachment, right? And it's true because if you are attached to body, you cannot give power to your own body. You know, Dadi Gulzar had a beautiful role to play as chariot of Baba. So chariot was very important. So everyone, generally tells us, oh, our age we give our age to you. Baba gave my age also to you. So she used to say, I don't want that. Said, why? As long as Baba can use my body, that long I would want to live. Not because I want to live very long. What will I do? So she always had this thought that this chariot is for service. And as long as Baba can use this chariot, that long I want to live. Not just live for what? One time someone asked me, what are the facilities you have for old people? Do you all have some place for them? Or so I was saying that how in Baba's Yagya, even when you are old, because you have a lot of experience and you have good vibrations, and so whether it is at center or in a Brahmin household, they like them to be there because their presence is very important. So even living in the old body, just be with us, Daddy, be with us. Because the experience, the power, the vibrations are always very, very helpful. Baba had been talking little bit on with the body and body consciousness, and so it's just like, because whole cycle drama is the interplay of soul and nature, right? Baba is beyond cycle. Taking birth, leaving body, being in the cycle is what soul and the nature. If that doesn't happen, there is no drama, right? So it's very, very interesting to understand love and respect for the nature. Love and respect for the nature, but no attachment. Someone said, when do I come to know that it's not only I have love, but now I have attachment? It happens, right? You love someone, then gradually becomes attachment. And Baba says no. As soon as there is sorrow, that means there is attachment. I lost something. I didn't get something. So it's like heaviness comes, attachment. With love, there will be good feelings of belonging. And so you have to have loveful vibrations for body. Not attachment, but loveful vibration. Because the vibrations, what you will have for the body will help body. I remember one time Baba said, when your body is not well, don't get fed up with body. तंग मत हो, अपने शरीर से तंग मत हो. Because when body is not well, you kind of start getting like, oh, why I have to do this? Why I have to do that? No? Still be a trustee and take care. And let it be used as long as you can. Because one is karma yoga. But there can also be mansa seva. Sustain the yagya through your presence. So until last minute, there are many. Didi Mohini's mother was Queen Mother. Dadi Gulzar's mother, all-rounder Dadi. So they were like, they were very good. I mean, their bodies were old. But everyone would love to meet them, say hello to them, take drishti, take toli. And they were very, I am remembering that all-rounder Dadi Gulzar's mother. She was in Pandabhavan, Delhi Pandabhavan. I don't know, some of you might have gone there. So as we entered, there was a very little room in the front. And she used to live there. And I used to ask her at the night time, how do you manage? She says, all right, Baba is with me. And she was there because she wanted to be protector of Yagya. But also when you go and when you are leaving, she will want to say hello, give you toli. I used to go from USA. She will take me in her room and say, oh, I have something very nice I kept for you. When I got it, I said, Mohini will like it. I keep it. So this way she will keep hiding little gifts, and when I go, she will give. So there was no attachment, but it's just pure feeling. One time Dadi Janki said, is it necessary for us to have attachment with each other? Can we have pure attachment? Dadi Janki said, yes. Because we have attachment with each other, then we understand each other. We try to cooperate with each other. We work together. Then she directly asked me, you think I have attachment with you? I said, I definitely feel. Because when I go to London, so there is something they cook was very nice. So after that, anyone who came from London, she will send that. So there is lot of flow of pure love, lot for each other, but no attachment. Like Brahma Baba, when he left body, no one really cried, even his daughter. I even didn't have tears. And we loved him so much. But his power of silence, his purity, changed sorrow into understanding. That soul has to become awake. We were surprised that why we didn't cry. When I got the news, I just went in deep silence, as if Baba is also pulling us. Had very good experience. So pure love within the divine family is definitely there. And that is how even when we had to do the funeral for Brahma Baba, lot of love, respect for the body, which as a chariot of God shared love with us. So Baba is giving us some thoughts to create that awareness which will help us to be free from attachment. So it's just change of consciousness, right? So body is still valuable. At confluence age, Baba said this birth is diamond birth. In golden age, it will be golden birth. This one is diamond, more valuable because it's for service. In golden age, we will have good time with family, lot of good happiness, but we're not doing any service or charitable actions there. So this birth, this body is very, very valuable because of the time and task which we perform. So we practice, have some change of consciousness and sustain ourselves. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Good evening, Avyakti Parivar. Good evening, Didi. Hello, Nalisha.
Hello, Om Shanti.
So this is Nalisha. Nalisha, introduce yourself.
Yes. So I guess I should say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, Avyakti Parivar, and to Didi and to Shireen Ben. So my name is Nalisha. I am based in the US. So today I'm in Washington, D.C., where I work full time for a human rights organization. But all the seva I do and everything, I'm connected with the Connecticut Center, which is about 300 miles north of Washington, D.C., which is the state that borders New York. And so I came to Baba at the age of 9. So it's been about 40 years with my Lokik mother, Lokik father, Jay Shri Ben and Ravindra Bai, and also with my brother. And so it's been quite the journey, I would say, with Baba, being able to work full time, but also do Baba Seva at the same time. And so I find it to be a privilege, but also a nice balancing act, I would say. But I'm very excited to be here today and to have been asked to actually interview you, Shireen Ben. And
Thank you for being here.
When you had asked if I was available, I was so happy to have this opportunity. And I have a few questions for you that I hope you're ready for.
Well, let's hope so.
You know, I was trying to think back to when you and I met, or when I became kind of getting to know you a little bit more. And I think, I can't imagine a time that you had not been around in the US particularly, but I was actually chatting and trying to think back. And I think one of the times that you kind of became more visible because you're in Florida, which is a bit of a distance, was probably around uh, the the project that we had around human greatness.
Yeah, celebrating human greatness.
Celebrating human greatness. And you were given this very critical role to help kind of move this project forward and make it great, right? I don't know if that was kind of one of the steps you had to take forward to say yes to becoming a little bit more visible and a little bit more involved in terms of taking on more leadership. And I don't know, what was it in those moments around that time when, we were taking this very big project that was going to glorify the Father's name and also the family, and to say yes to such a big service, opportunity. I don't know if you were still working at the time or what was
I was
happening.
working.
So what was it in you
I
that
would
said
say
yes?
naivete. I would say naivete because I didn't think those things through, right? I'm not thinking, oh, it's so big or anything. We were just doing service. And it was like so uh, much enthusiasm and so much courage, right? I remember we went to New Orleans for our first conversation. We didn't know anyone, right? Wadi Ben flew in from Miami, and me and Tara went from here, drove from here to New Orleans, and we arrived. And before we left, in a span of 1 or 2 days, we got two venues and four conversations, and both venues were free. And everything was set, right? In 2 days, it just happened. It was so amazing, and I really feel it's Baba's magic. You're not thinking these things then, right? You're just like doing it.
You're just doing, right?
Yeah, you're just doing it.
But I feel like that was such a moment for you in terms of like just saying yes, not knowing what was going to be like, how it was going to get done or what was, and you said it was like Baba's magic. But I've seen you, I've always appreciated you in terms of like
Yeah.
what you have to share, the service you do, whether it be around a topic that's very practical, or if it's around cooking, or even around just having these one-on-one chit chats. But it can, as Brahmins, it can become very easy to get caught up in the role and forget about not forget, but not put so much time onto the soul.
Absolutely.
And especially I see you in action a lot, but you're always very light. You're always very like practical, going to get it done, but there's this lightness that you maintain. What inner work do you do in order to not get caught up in the role or in the actions, but just to really stay connected to what I would say the soul?
It changes, but lately there has been this experience. So it changes over time, right? So I'm talking about my more recent experience that I'm really focusing on is not allowing my mind to dictate what I feel, right? Because the mind looks at something and then I start thinking certain thoughts and I start feeling that way. And so that's the effort I'm making, a separation between the thought and the soul, the mind and the soul, and just feeling myself and experiencing myself beyond the mind, beyond the thoughts. And I'm really deeply understanding why Baba says Manmana Bhav, right? Because the mind can go in 10 million directions, and each time it goes, like our attention goes. And so lately, I've been just sitting and telling myself, in an hour, how much of the time can I really experience my original self? Not what is going on here, not what is my mind is telling me to think, or not where my thoughts are going, but just the original self. And that has been very useful to not think about the role, not to think about service, not to think about what's happening, in front of me, because it can be very tyrannical, right? Like what's going on in front of you can totally take over your whole feelings and attitude and drishti. It can take over everything.
And so, if you've ever had moments where you find yourself getting pulled by it, what do you do to kind of bring yourself back? Because sometimes I know when I'm sitting in meditation, there's a moment where I'm like, oh, I have to do this, I have to do that, because, we're using every moment in a worthwhile way, and very often it's for service. So if you ever find yourself getting pulled, what do you say to yourself, or how do you bring yourself back to focus so that it doesn't take over?
Um, Again, it changes over time. And again, lately, I've been really saying Manmana Bhav. Manmana Bhav. And the other thing that since last few weeks, and especially after Sundays Morley, is I just tell the soul, remember Nashto Moha. Remember Nashto Moha, right?
Can you
And
translate that for?
yes,
Yes.
you know, when I was growing up, and I grew up in India, Sanskrit was one of my languages. And I always understood Nashto Moha to be destroyer of illusions. Not because sometimes when words go from Sanskrit to Hindi, the meaning changes a little bit. So moha in Sanskrit is illusion, and in Hindi is attachment. And so, but I do prefer the illusion bit. So Nashto Moha is I have destroyed illusion. And so if my mind is wandering, there is some illusion the soul is buying into. And so I'm constantly being aware, okay, what is the illusion the soul is buying into? Let me get away from it. Let's come back to what Baba is saying, right? I remember one time, and I've shared this here before, is Dadi Janki was sharing that in the beginning of the yagya, whenever anyone would get upset or anything would happen, they would only remind each other. They would just say, Manmana Bhav, Manmana Bhav. And so, and I feel that's the reminder we should have, right? Manmana Bhav, Manmana Bhav. And that way, just come back. Like take two or three phrases that you really get into and just say, no, 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 come back. So those two phrases are going on in my mind these days. Come back, come back. Manmana bhav, nashto moha. Manmana bhav, nashto moha.
It's interesting. I find myself having these internal conversations. It's like, okay, let's get back to focus. And I remember, what Dadi Janki always says, I had the fortune of growing up under Dadi, with Dadi and, Didi. But it was always this reminding myself, well, who am I? You know? And because I remember we used to say, sometimes we'd say, "Oh, how are you, Dottie?" And she's like, "No, no, no. Who am I? Not how are you?" And it was like back to, one to the self, but then who do I belong to? And so I always find it to be even though it sounds very simple, it's probably the most powerful thought we can create.
Absolutely.
Man above, who am I? Who do I belong to? It has such power behind it that sometimes I know it can be easy to take for granted, but it would keep us, pretty much focused. Um, and so that kind of leads me to a little bit about, you know, taking us further from that is this question around principles.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes, you shared with us, like, what is it that you bring yourself to stay focused? But based on Baba's knowledge, what would you say are like that it keeps you stable, but almost like the principles that you live by? If you had to just name one or two things that kind of helps you stay stable, keeps you grounded and focused when it comes to Baba's knowledge, in addition to Man above. What would you say are some principles that you really pull from or that you remind yourself of based on Baba's knowledge?
One would be sincerity. I have to be sincere with Baba, right? No show my cleverness, but sincere, like, like, okay, this is what's happening. And just be very sincere in the effort I'm making. Just be sincere. That is one. And then the next one would be honesty, because I feel I shouldn't hide things, not just from Baba, but also, seniors like Didi and stuff. If, really just be very honest. And the last one would be courage.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Courage.
Yeah.
I remember when I was going through my cancer, this was a few years ago, and I did not want to do anything, right? I just wanted to sit in my room and mope. And that day, Murli, it was a Avyakt Murli, and one day Baba said, if you take one step of courage, I will give you 1,000 steps of help. So I thought, hey, if Baba is going to give me one step, for one step, 1,000 steps, then if I take half a step, then he's going to give me 500 steps. And if I take two, 200, if I take 1/4, then he'll give me 250. If I don't take any, he won't give me any, right? And so that was really for an eye opener for me. Like, even if it is a tiny bit, right? I need to change the way I'm thinking in any relationship. If anything is going on, I need to have good wishes and pure feelings. Don't get into things. That for me is the courage I need. Not get into my old sanskaras, but really maintain the courage to do what Baba is asking me to do.
That's very beautiful what you just shared, because sometimes we feel like that step of courage has to be a leap, where it has to be this very big undertaking, but even just a tiny step, Baba will pull us along. Um, and so you bring up something really nice, about the Murli, that it was like the right moment to hear those words from Baba. And so do you like, because very often, we say, oh my gosh, how did Baba know that this is a question I had or this is something I'm going through? Do you feel that like when you listen to Baba's Murli, do you feel that like God is speaking to me directly? Like, is that something that came to you
Yes,
naturally?
lately I have,
Hmm.
because I've been giving myself like an exercise to really remember Baba while reading the Murli and not see the people in front of me. And so I was like, oh, Baba is like revealing a facet to me in every Murli. There is a facet he's revealing to me. And so it's been a very interesting time for me, because I feel, of course, it's drama, but you could say it's Baba. Baba will say it's drama, but we should say it's Baba, because really Baba is doing it. And Baba will say it's drama because it's in the drama he's doing it, but whatever it he's doing it. Ultimately, the bottom line is he's doing it. And so the synchronicity of when you need something and how Baba, provides, right, in the Murli is very actually quite magical. And this is why he's the ocean. This is why he's the magician. This is why he's who he is, right? Like, how
Yeah.
does he know this is going to happen?
I think for myself, I used to listen to the Murli with just what I call with just my head. And it was like I would kind of analyze what Baba was saying and it was like, yeah, it makes sense. But once I started listening with my head and my heart, and I allowed myself to actually feel Baba's words, I was feeling more and more like he was speaking to me because I realized that I was the one that was kind of putting the distance because I was trying to make sense of everything Baba was saying. And what I wasn't doing was actually allowing Baba to talk to me,
Mm.
And then you find out, you're like, oh my gosh, I was thinking that, or I had a question on that, or this is something that I needed. And so I had learned that, Baba really does talk to us through the Murli, but I have to be really willing to listen and to hear it and
Abs-
not to bring my own thinking into it. I don't know if you ever found yourself kind of having that kind of conversation like I did to really bring them really
Yeah,
closer.
what happens is sometimes you're reading the Murli or listening to the Murli, and there's another parallel thing going on in your head. I was very clear with Baba. I'm going to sit down and count all the times my mind wandered while I'm listening to you. Because I'm like, this can't be, because I feel like whatever you measure, right, you can actually control, you can actually grow, you can actually, manage, whatever you measure, you can manage. And so started counting, okay, this many times it wandered today, Baba. The next day, this many times it wandered today, and this many times my mind was having its own parallel conversation, right? But there has to, one of the things lately is, and I mentioned this before, is there has to be a separation between the soul and the mind. The mind is just there. Like, we shouldn't take it on too seriously, right? The soul is the soul, and then there's the mind. And the mind keeps going, and just watch it, don't take it too seriously. And the Murli is this perfect mirror that can show you how to do it, right? Like, what's going on with you in the mind and where it's wandering. The Murli is perfect. So, one of the things I always feel about the Murli is that it's kind of like it reflects to you what's going on with you in that moment, right? That's why he's the ocean. That's why he's the ocean.
Mhm.
Um, And so lately, it's been a very beautiful relationship with Baba as the ocean of knowledge, as the teacher. It's been a little different.
I really appreciate you saying that. I know our conversation has kind of taken this little like journey where we started out with the role to soul, but also concentration and focus, where you kind of brought us back to center. But then we also talking about like the Murli and how it's really, how you can hear the Murli. And I think many that are listening today will appreciate what you're saying because I know I'm really like valuing the words that you're sharing because I think many of us go through this kind of inner kind of pulling sometimes, but we really want to be these, you know, we want to keep, increasing our efforts and making them more intense. And so I want to say, first of all, thank you for what you're sharing. I still have another question for you though.
Okay, last
And it's,
question.
and I want to switch gears a little bit. Like I live in Washington, D.C. I have, the world is definitely changing here. Whether we look at it politically or like today it went from cold to warm to stormy in one day. We're seeing so many changes in the world politically. We're seeing a lot of like an increase in natural calamities in the world. Even the way people interact is shifting in terms of the people out in the world. I know that sometimes it can be very easy as a Brahmin to say, I'll just detach, step away from all of it. But there's also another part of us that might be saying, but I have a responsibility to keep uplifting the world.
Right, right.
Where do you like seeing everything that you see that's happening in the world? How do you what inspires you to keep going in terms of serving, uplifting, um, not, but also not disengaging?
Right. Something Baba said in Sunday's Murli, which was very interesting. He said, you're responsible for world transformation, for world benefit, right? You are responsible. And I remember a few days ago on Thursday, Sakar Baba was saying, I know I'm number one and I feel responsible because I'm number one, right? So no one gave him the responsibility. He just felt responsible because imagine being number one, how everything you have to do right, right? Because everyone else is following you behind you. So it's thinking of what Sakar Baba was going through at that time when he said that. And so I was thinking it's up to us to take on the responsibility of world transformation, right? And I don't, of course, believe in completely getting involved in the news and all the details and all of that. It just seems to like fill your head with nonsense. But definitely that to keep a balance and send good wishes and not have expectations of people. I remember people voting for a certain candidate and thinking, oh, they will change the world. And I'm thinking, but what are we doing? I thought we were the ones who are going to change the world. What are they like? They're not here to do that. They're here for power and whatever else they want, right? Greed and power. And which you don't blame them. That's their part in the drama. But so this clear understanding, right? I'm responsible. I'm here because of Baba's instrument. I'm here because Baba is, the world is waiting on us to be these responsible people.
The world is waiting for us. I like that. I know our time is up, but I do want to thank you for sharing some practical tools, some inspirations, but also some really helpful ways that we can continue to be Baba's instrument. And so thank you so much, Shireen Ben, and thank you for this opportunity. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you.
Yes, it was wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for saying yes. And it was so nice to talk to you.
All right, take care.
Take care. Om Shanti
Om
Avyakta
Shanti.
Parivar.